Hi, I'm Brad Swanson with Agile 42, and I'm here to talk about how to take your team from good to great. I'm going to talk about four things: values, focus, discipline, and learning as the cornerstones of a great team. So the first thing I want to talk about today is from Patrick Lencioni, the 5 dysfunctions of a team. In this results pyramid here, Lencioni talks about trust, constructive conflict, commitment, accountability, and attention to results. 5 ingredients that every team needs. And I think these are important things for each team to measure itself against on a regular basis. We'll talk about the 2 foundational levels, starting with trust. The base of that pyramid is trust, not just any kind of trust, but Lencioni talks about vulnerability-based trust. And he's got a great exercise called the personal histories exercise as a way to establish that vulnerability-based trust within a team. Great technique for a good team to use to get to great. Next layer up in that pyramid is constructive conflict. Conflict is bound to happen in any team. What I recommend is that every team explicitly decide in a team agreement how we're going to deal with conflict. Need to deal with it head on, constructively, and in a way that reflects our team values. Speaking of those team values, we need to make those explicit too. As a team, I recommend that you choose your top 3 or 4 value statements, and not just a word or phrase, but make that real. Decide what does that mean in terms of how we will behave as a team. What will we do to reflect those values, each of those values as a team. Next up, we need to be checking periodically what the health of our team is. Decide what matters to us, those values and principles, and measure ourselves against those. How well are we doing? Where can we improve? We'd like to see over time that our team health is continuing to get better and better. Next, I want to give credit to Olaf Lewitz and Michael Sahota for this great graphic they created. 3 things that each team needs to have shared responsibility for: building the right thing, building things right, and continually getting better. The heart of Scrum is right in the middle of those, where they intersect with that shared responsibility. Moving on to focus now. Change one question in your daily stand-up from what will I do today to what is the right thing to do today. Focus on always what is the right thing to do. What should we be doing next? To help drive that focus within a team, it really helps to have organizational metrics that drive focus. Things like measuring lead time, trying to shorten lead time, and correspondingly limiting the number of projects that we have running concurrently within the organization. We want to cut back on concurrent work to reduce context switching, get stuff done faster. Another great technique for every team is value stream mapping, to pinpoint and focus on where is our biggest opportunity to improve our process. We want to map out every step that we're following and figure out where do we have the biggest delay, where do we have the largest waste occurring, and focus on removing that waste. Stay focused on the biggest part of the problem. Another part of focus is making our workflow visible. Hopefully all of you have a Scrum board that makes this visible, although I know many teams lock this information away in an electronic tool where it's rarely seen. Put it up on a wall, get it on a big screen TV, make it highly visible so everyone can always make better decisions. Explicit policies. Scrum talks about definition of done. Take that one step further and define your done for every step in your workflow. What is the transition criteria to move from one step to the next in your process? Make that explicit. We'll borrow something else here from Kanban, and that is limiting work in progress. Scrum does a pretty good job of doing that through short sprints. However, even within a single sprint, great teams will limit the number of stories that they have in progress at one time. Swarm on a story. Make sure you're getting stories done before you're starting the next story. Now next up, we got to go back to basics. If you're a software team, you need discipline around your practices. These come from XP. They're things like continuous integration, test-driven development, refactoring, coding standards. XP brings the discipline to a software Scrum team. I'm going to talk about another great way to bring discipline to an organization: visible impediment removal. A great team will leverage your servant leaders to visibly, actively be removing those impediments and roadblocks that get in the team's way. Your servant leaders should be doing that in a way that models the behavior they want to see and supporting the teams. T-shaped people. We want everyone to have more than one skill they can contribute to the team. Pick a major skill and a minor skill. Be able to do more than one thing. Be deep in a few areas, but have some breadth in your skill set as well. Next part of a learning culture is always focusing on building the right thing. We know that a lot of teams spend a lot of time and a lot of their stakeholders' money building features that are not used very often. So we want to focus always as a team on building the right thing. One way to do that is to adopt the lean startup concept of the build, measure, learn cycle. We want to get through that cycle as quickly as we can as a team. With every feature that we're building, what do we need to build? How are we going to measure the results? And what do we learn from that? Now, the best way to think through that as a learning team is to take that cycle in reverse. Start by asking the question, what do we need to learn in order to know that we're building the right feature? How would we measure that? And then third, what's the simplest thing we can build in order to measure that? That's what Eric Ries calls the minimal viable product, in order to learn what's the right thing to build. One last important ingredient of a great team, and that is having fun together. Great teams spend a lot of time with each other, and they learn how to have fun. We've got to bring joy back into work, and it's important that we don't neglect that. Make sure that you get out there and have fun with your team. Thanks. Once again, I'm Brad Swanson with Agile 42.